Back in the beginning of the 5th century, when St. Augustine was the bishop of a town in northern Africa, which was all part of the Roman Empire, he gave a sermon on this gospel that we heard today about Jesus asleep in the boat. At the time of Augustine, the Roman Empire was beginning to crumble, to fall apart. The inner structure, the great organization, the wonderful postal system, and wonderful network of roads was all beginning to crumble because of internal problems. And from outside the empire, those people who had not yet been conquered by Rome and organized were invading and destroying, and lives of people all over the empire were upset after hundreds of years of the so-called Roman peace and order and everything safe and sound. Taking this gospel as his point of departure, Augustine suggested to the people that in this time of turmoil, which I think is very familiar to the times we're living in, where many of the ordered and reliable features of our society are upset or being upset, both politically, internationally, even climate-wise. Even within the church itself, there is disorder. At a time like this, we need to listen to what Augustine said to his people. He said, "Don't let Jesus fall asleep in your heart." One of the things that he said was wrong among the empire, which had become Christian to a great extent, was that we had failed to listen to the teachings of the Lord and to experience his presence in our life. I kept thinking, why does Jesus fall asleep in our heart? Well, if you've ever been in a large group of people and you were sort of ignored, you might doze off, even though there's a lot of people and things going on around you, because it's conversation, it's interacting with other people, which often keeps us awake. And perhaps that's what Augustine meant. He said, if we're not conversing with the Christ who is within us, he may fall asleep within us and then give us no reason to have hope in times of turmoil and destruction. So perhaps what the message is, at least for me today, is to make sure Jesus doesn't fall asleep in my life. Perhaps that's one of the reasons why Pope Francis suggested a few months ago in a homily that every one of us who are disciples of Jesus should have at close hand a small copy of the Gospels so that we continuously dip into it as day passes day and keep Jesus awake in our lives, in our heart. The answer to all our problems is to obey the will of God. And the will of God has been known to us principally and totally in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. We have to be attuned to that. We have to be listening to him day in and day out in order to achieve the peace which the world cannot give us.